whenever you talked to John, you told him straight up that you knew he was 13. I can't tell you how many times in this chat log that you tell him that you know he's 13. You talk about spring break. You ask him when his mom's leaving. And whenever he asked you how old you were when you started, you said 13 or 14, and he said I was the same age, and you said that you understood. So don't tell me that you don't know that he was 13 and that wasn't your intention to come here and have sex with a 13-year-old.
No, that was not my intentions.
It was absolutely your intention,
were to meet
Tim.
somebody and
Don't
have a
fill me
friend.
full of crap. I'm done with that game.
In 2007, there was a video about a guy named Timothy Kyne who did some really bad stuff. He was 42 years old and worked as an electrician. But in his free time, he would talk to young guys on the internet. One day, he found a 13-year-old named John. But here's the twist. John wasn't real. He was working with a TV show to catch bad people. At first, Kyne was nice to John and made him feel special. But things got worse. He started talking about things that were not okay. Eventually, he convinced John to meet up with him when he would be alone for the weekend. But when Kyne showed up, he got a big surprise. Instead of meeting John, he was tackled to the ground by a bunch of agents. They caught him in the act. The agent started asking some easygoing questions that had nothing to do with the investigation. They did this to help Kyne feel comfortable and get used to answering questions without worrying too much.
What about John's family or anything like that? Did you discuss?
No. I think he said that he lived with his parents and his mom's going to be away, and said come over. And I said, well, I'd like to meet you.
So how did you find the location?
He gave me an address.
Gave you an address, and then did you do a map, or did you know how to get here already? MapQuest. Pretty handy. Yeah. So you chat online quite often?
Off and on, What's often.
Do you tend to talk to a lot of people?
Not really. I mean, I find somebody interesting, I'll talk to them, and
What kind of things do you chat about?
just whatever, really.
No, I really don't.
I mean, I don't know. Just talk and go from there.
Why do you use the chat? Is it a chat room that you go to?
Yeah, I guess so.
To meet people?
Yeah.
I'm not a chatter, so I don't really understand it. Can you help me understand why you use that medium?
Just to meet people,
Okay. Is there a particular type of person you're looking for?
Not really. Just not really.
Okay. I've read a little bit of the chat that you had, and there were some underlying issues of maybe homosexuality. And was that maybe the reason for your contact with John?
Could be, but if he's
And
the age, if that's what you said, that's that would never happen. Because I think if I remember right, God, when I met him, I can't remember the name. The name on it, because it said like a date 74 or something like that.
Okay. So he was homosexual? Is that?
I don't know.
You don't know. How did it?
I don't know. Unless you meet somebody, you know what I mean? I wouldn't, do any of that. I'd like to meet somebody and go from there.
So, but you were interested in him because he was a boy or a man?
Personality and so forth.
Personality.
Friends.
Kyne is pretty tricky when the detective asks him why he's talking to the boy online. He never gives clear answers, like he's trying to keep his options open. Reed acts like he doesn't know much about chatting and asks Kyne to explain. This is a smart move because it often makes suspects talk more. Most folks can't resist this request, especially those who think they know something special, which makes them feel important. But then, the second agent messes up by talking too much instead of listening to what Kyne might have to say. That breaks the smooth conversation.
I think you guys both were thinking about something a little bit more. Okay? Would that be the truth?
Until I don't know. Talking to somebody online and meeting somebody is, it's totally different things. I'm always looking for friends.
If we can come out and talk about the truth here, okay? Because you came up here, the way you were talking, I think there was a little bit more. I can understand that, other than, if I give this to somebody else, I can just easily hand this to them and say, okay, this guy was out to find a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, whatever. They're going to think a lot worse. But if we talk about what happened here, just the three of us, maybe we can figure this out, and maybe there's something a little different. And maybe you're not that guy that's out there looking for little kids or that.
I'm not looking for.
And you're not,
kids.
and you're,
No.
but you were looking for a little bit more when you came up here.
I don't know until you meet somebody. I don't know.
In the conversation, the detective is trying to understand the true intentions of Kyne, who had come to a certain location to meet John he had been talking to online. The detective questions Kyne's motives, suggesting that he may have had more than just a casual meeting in mind. Kyne, in response, insists that they were seeking friendship and that age, particularly 13 years old, was not a factor in their interest. The detective is probing to determine whether the individual had more dubious intentions, while the individual maintains their innocence regarding any inappropriate motives.
I think everybody was being upfront, okay? We don't pick and choose sometimes, okay? And I understand that, sometimes emotions weigh more than over other things, age, other things, okay? And you came up here, and I'm thinking, we're gonna want a little bit more. Possibly something sexual, okay? All right. Am I on the right track?
No. I'm not looking. If that's what you're saying, that I came up here looking for sex from a kid.
Well, you're looking to be with somebody, have a good time.
To meet somebody, have a good time, and have a good time as sex-wise, or have a good time. Meet somebody, have a good time, talk to them, get to know somebody.
So it was a possibility.
Not at that age, no. I don't even think I would not even, think about that. To have sex with a 13-year-old, no.
They're struggling to figure out what Kyne means, and, it all depends on how you look at it and what someone thinks. This word can mean different things, you see. But Kyne is smart. He doesn't want to get involved with anything that might have a sexual connotation. The detective mentioned that it seemed like Kyne wanted to get close and intimate with John in their chats. Kyne explained that it depended on the person they were talking to, and they might be open to it if they met the right person. The detective thought Kyne seemed caring and wouldn't harm anyone. However, Kyne didn't know that John was 13 years old when they were chatting. The detective questioned the location of the chats, as Kyne had said they were in Dayton, but they had chatted from home in Indianapolis. So there was confusion in the conversation.
In your chat, there were discussions about relationships with other people. I understood that you had a boyfriend who left and went to Florida. Is that true? So you've had some ups and downs
Sure.
in as far as relationships are concerned and how they've worked out for you. So you turn to the chat rooms to discuss those
Just
things?
meet people,
and-
yeah, to talk, yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Pass the time.
yeah.
Lonely. Need somebody to talk
Just,
to and
you
maybe
know.
meet and do something.
Which, you know,
Yeah. I'm sure, not that I know personally, but I'm sure that it would be hard. The way society is today with homosexual tendencies, for that to be accepted very easily. So it'd be hard for you to find a whole lot of people to openly display your affection with and not offend other people. So I can see where you would go to a chat room to express yourself and find out who you are as well as who other people are. Do you think John was having those issues?
I don't know.
Did you
I
connect
don't,
with
you
him
know, I
in
never
that
met
manner?
I never met a guy, so I don't know how somebody actually is until you meet somebody.
Yeah, but on your chat, I mean, you obviously came here because you felt some connection. I mean, I don't see you being the
Sure.
kind of person that would just,
You know, yeah, or I wouldn't.
you know, run
Yeah.
off and
No.
go to somebody's house without having some feeling about whether you're even going to be able to talk to them.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true, or am I way off base?
No, I guess that's true, but I mean, the age thing is what you guys are, you know,
Tim, you're getting caught up with the age thing. I'm not.
Yeah, we're just trying to
getting caught up with-
understand.
You're getting caught up with the age. And if you want to get caught up with the age, that's fine.
The agents are saying they're not concerned about age, but Kyne knows they're totally into it. If his journey didn't involve a minor, there wouldn't be any legal trouble. But Kyne's all about staying out of jail, so he's keeping an eye on what could get him in trouble.
How did you feel about John when you were?
I don't know until you actually meet somebody. You know what I mean? I mean, you don't know how somebody is talking on a computer.
Well, it was obviously enough to get you to come
Sure.
here.
There was
Tell
a-
me about that. Tell me about that connection that you felt.
Well, I don't, sure, but anybody lies, everybody lies.
Oh, online.
Well, I guess, evidently something happened.
Yeah. So, what do you think he lied about?
Well, I don't know. I never met anybody. I know I walked into a room and I was on the ground.
But, so,
I mean, if I, meeting somebody, if I like them, that's fine. But
you just said you had enough connection online.
sure.
Say,
to
let
come-
me
yeah,
go check
come
it
down
out.
here.
And that's what all you do. You're just going to check it out and see if there could be more.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's normal. I can see people, if you see something it piques your interest, and you're going to want to check it out. I can understand that. And while you're there, if you didn't like him, you left, right? If you got there and you didn't like him,
That's what would have happened.
yeah, if you didn't like him, but if you did like him, maybe hey, you got to talk a little bit and everything.
Kyne finds it tough to hide his feelings when people ask him questions. He can't keep still, and to avoid staring at them, he acts like he's interested in tying his shoelaces. The detective wanted to make sure Tim understood they weren't playing mind games. They just wanted to figure out what was going on and explain things. The detective encouraged Tim to be honest and stressed the importance of being clear. Tim got the message and explained that the meeting was just about getting to know someone and maybe making a friend or finding love. Tim and the police officers had more conversations. Tim kept saying the meetup didn't have any specific plans and he didn't know the guy's age. But the officers kept asking the same questions, making Tim uncomfortable. To put more pressure on Tim and to get him to confess or share more information, the officers pushed harder. They showed Tim's chat logs as evidence, These logs had a lot of times when Tim knew that John was 13. They even pointed out conversations about their planned meetings, including talking about spending the whole weekend together and doing intimate things. The detectives also brought up Tim's worries about John's mum not being around and his admission that he started doing similar things when he was young.
I don't know.
You chatted with him.
I chatted with him. I talked to him. We talked about all different. We talked about going bowling. We talked about watching movies. We talked about sex. We talked about school. We talked about work. We talked about life. We talked about everything. I mean, from one thing to the other.
And then this weekend was going to be special.
Did I say it was going to be special?
I think as much as you talk to him, I think it was going to be special. It's going to be a fun weekend.
I don't know.
You hoped it was going to be fun.
Nobody's going to come there. Oh, gee, I hope I have a miserable time. I hope nothing happens. You don't go into something like that with that time of.
I don't hope something's going to happen. I mean, unless I like somebody, I'm not going to go and have sex with somebody I don't know. Or if it's 13 years old, nothing would have happened. I'm sorry.
And you like John. And you like.
I did like him. I liked the how he portrayed, but it was all a setup.
And that was going. And this weekend was about the next step. That's what this weekend was about. It was the next
This
step.
weekend was about getting to know somebody a little better.
The next step.
And going from there, not having sex with them. I'm sorry, it's not what it was about.
It was having a good time. I'll give you that. It was about having a good time.
The agents are pushing Kyne, and they've stopped being nice to him. Now Kyne can't think carefully about his answers, and their change in attitude has made him feel uneasy and unsure. The detectives interrupt Tim's attempts to defend himself and declare their interest before outlining the evidence. They strongly claim that Tim had planned to engage in inappropriate behaviors with the 13-year-old for the entire weekend. A few people are saying that Tim made a joke, but some are not happy with how he's avoiding talking about his true intentions. The detectives want to focus on Tim's straightforward goals, and they are saying they don't want to play tricky games anymore. They even suggest that Tim might be up to something illegal because everything they're talking about is public. This makes it clear that things are pretty obvious and unsettling. For instance, Tim said he'd do anything for John and often expressed love for him, even wanting to go on a date. They were talking openly about stuff like kissing, hugging, and more. Also, Tim lied about his age and said a bunch of weird stuff. A skilled legal team can argue in court that Tim didn't know or just didn't care about John's age. Tim expressively indicated that if he had realized John was only 13, he would not have participated in any inappropriate activities, which lends credence to his allegation. But lots of other messages from Tim make it seem like he knew John's age, and it bothered him a lot. Tim's words make it seem like he didn't mean them, but his other messages show something else. Tim tries to explain that he would have known if John was younger, but he didn't because the website showed John as older. He also says that everyone online lies, which he thinks makes his actions okay. The police say he never showed any concern about John's age once they started talking, and he found out John was only 13. Tim admits he made a mistake, but doesn't think the age gap is a problem. When the detectives asked him about high school and gay students at John's school, they chatted about different things.
You knew he was a child.
I didn't know he was 13 years old.
If he was 18, why would you say don't tell your mom?
Because a lot of people live with their mom at 18 years old and flip out.
Tim, when you turn 18, you're an adult.
Yes, you are, but...
And you know what?
You know?
You don't tell an 18-year-old, oh, don't tell your mom.
When you talk about something like that, yeah, you do.
Well, that's normally most people that are 18 have that control that they don't tell their moms what they do. You've been 18, I've been 18, and Agent Reed's been 18. We've
Yes,
all been
right,
18.
right.
When I was 18, I didn't need somebody to tell me, oh, don't tell mom that we're doing this. Agent Reed
I
at
don't
18.
know. I know people like that at 18.
Tim.
I've known people
You
like
don't.
that are 35 and 40 and still live at home with mom and dad.
Oh, wow.
But
You
you
know?
know what?
It's pretty sad.
But you know what? But they're not telling, other people are not telling, oh, don't tell nobody. I think most people would get to him at that age. Don't, they understand that.
Tim's attitude has shifted a lot in the last few minutes. He went from looking relaxed and open to appearing tense and upright. It's clear he's uncomfortable because he's got his arms crossed and his shoulders raised. Tim is getting more restless and takes off his jacket without even thinking, hoping it'll make him feel better. He seems anxious and wants to end the conversation, as shown by his crossed legs and fidgety feet. The detectives notice that their current plan isn't working after almost an hour of questioning. They decide to take a break and use this time to figure out their next steps. They leave Tim alone in the room.
I think we ought to give Mr. Kyne a few minutes to
Can I please use the bathroom?
think. We'll come back and get you in a few minutes. We'll take care of some paperwork. Check back in on you.
I can't though use the bathroom.
Just
You need
give
to
us a
stay
minute.
right there.
Okay?
Please,
We'll
just
be
give
back.
it.
I'll
Really
give you a minute,
need to
okay?
go.
Okay.
Leaving Tim alone in the room made him think about how serious the situation was, which made his anxiety and uncertainty worse after waiting for an hour. The detectives came back to keep questioning Tim. He strongly denies that he intentionally talked to a child and says he would never do anything wrong. But the detectives mention a specific conversation where Tim talked about the Easter Bunny and asked John if he still believed in it. They also point out that there's a big difference between what Tim says and how he acts around John, which suggests he knew John was young. The detectives say this evidence is important and that any judge or jury would see it as proof of Tim's intentions. They wanted him to understand how serious the situation was and the legal consequences he could face. Tim tried to defend himself by pointing out things from John's profile that made him believe John was older, but the investigators did not buy it. They brought up the conflicting age information on John's Yahoo profiles and pushed Tim to face the truth about what he did and what might happen because of it. Tim said he was sorry and admitted his mistake, but the detectives said he should have noticed the warning that John might not be old enough. They also thought that Tim talking with John about driving and school should have made him question things. Still, the investigators kept pushing Tim to admit that he knew how old John was, stressing how important it was for him to take responsibility for his actions. The detectives were convinced that he did it, even though Tim wouldn't admit it or work with them. So they charged Timothy with a serious crime for crossing state lines to meet a child for sex. He was found guilty and got a 46-month jail sentence and 20 years of probation. Plus, he got put on the list as a sex offender, and that's something that'll stick with him forever. We hope you found this story as fascinating as we did. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.